Virginia Tech seems to have found a new identity. Is it enough to give the Noles a run for their money? Virginia Tech started the season, well, frankly, not very good. They had one win against an Old Dominion team going into the game at Pitt. But against the Panthers, they look like a completely different team. And a lot of that had to do with how they've adapted to their new quarterback, Kyron Drones. Grant Wells started the season, and he's more of a prototypical pocket passer. But under Drones, they decided to adopt to a new running game. The stats bear this out. Against Pitt, they had 59 rushing attempts, by far the most this season. And that's good for the 7th most in a game across all of college football this season. Another stat that stands out is read options jumped from 25% of their rushing plays to over 50%. A lot of this read option game stems off of inside zone. In inside zone, the offensive line double teams trying to get vertical push, and they leave this backside defensive end unblocked. If he rushes towards the quarterback like you see here, he gives it and allows a running back to get moving forward quickly. But they do something kind of interesting when they want Drones to pull the ball himself. You can see right off the bat this looks just like their regular inside zone play. In that case, this Pitt defensive end would have to keep backside contain on the quarterback, and this safety here would have to fill this C gap. But what Virginia Tech does is they double team this end, and Drones bounces the play outside. This gives him plenty of rushing room with no one there to make the tackle. In addition to this little inside zone series, they also had a counter series that they went to rather frequently. Here in this counter play, you can see the backside guard and tight end pull across the line of scrimmage to open up a gap for Bashul Tutin to run through. Once they get the linebackers flowing with counter, they'll do a toss the other direction. This allows Tutin to get his momentum moving forward, and he's a really tough back to bring down in space. If the defense then starts keying the running back action, they can fake that toss and Drones can take it back the other direction. All this different run action gives the defense a lot to think about, but more importantly, it keeps the ball in the hands of Virginia Tech's two best athletes. It also makes the passing game a lot simpler. Drones isn't the strongest passer, but when the defense has to consistently come up to stop the run, it opens up things downfield. Virginia Tech's season average on play-action plays was about 23%, but it hopped up to almost 50% in the game against Pitt. This allowed Drones to make simple reads. Here you can see that the play-action opens up a one-on-one on the outside on a go route. It also allowed Drones to get out in space where he can make throws outside of the pocket. It also allowed them to build off their inside zone where this pulling wide receiver slips out for an easy completion. I think this new identity makes a lot of sense for Virginia Tech's personnel. You have an athletic quarterback and frankly, a very good running back. It'll be interesting to see how this matches up against Florida State, who's been pretty good against traditional run games, but has struggled against mobile quarterbacks. And while Virginia Tech has had one really good game offensively, Florida State's had one really bad game offensively against a team built kind of similarly to the Hokies. However, the defense is a different story. The defense has been the stronger side of the ball in head coach Brent Pry's early tenure at Virginia Tech. They base out of cover 3. Cover 3 just implies that there's 3 deep defenders. This allows one extra guy in the box to help against runs. And they play a lot of what I call country zones. Those are spot drop zones where defenders simply drop to a spot and try to keep their eyes on the quarterback. If they want to bring pressure, what they often do is what's called fire zones. In a fire zone, instead of having 3 deep defenders and 4 underneath defenders, they'd bring one of the underneath defenders and have a 3 deep, 3 under look. These can be very effective at generating pressures and forcing quarterbacks to make poor decisions with defenders looking in the backfield. But fire zones aren't perfect, and if you can time up the right screen, it can often go for big yardage. So far, this cover 3 scheme has been pretty good for them this season. Where they've really struggled has been against the run. Right now, they're 107th in yards per play given up against rushes this year, and before the Pitt game, they were even worse at 119th. I think a lot of that has to do with their linebackers. To me, there seems to be a trend on the season on the kind of run plays that generated explosives against this Virginia Tech defense. I think this Purdue play shows it the best. Here they're running outside zone to the field. That means that they're really going to stretch the field horizontally and take advantage of linebackers not being in the right gaps. Here you can see this weak side linebacker doesn't flow at all to the action, which allows it to break free for a pretty big gain. This plays the exact same story. Again, an outside zone to the field, where this linebacker over pursues and this linebacker under pursues, and this safety doesn't really come up to help, which leads to a big cutback hole. Even when it's not outside zone doing the damage, it's often an inside zone that then bounces outside, and this takes advantage of linebackers who have again stepped up into the wrong gap. When I watched the Pitt game, I didn't really see any of this. Pitt did run outside zone a few times, but generally in condensed formations that puts more bodies on the field and to the boundary of the field, all of which allows the linebackers to have a little bit more room for error. In fact, the few times Pitt had successful running plays, it feels like they got there by accident. Again, here's an outside zone to the boundary, but the running back is able to take advantage of this overflowing linebacker for a big cutback lane back into the field. And while they did look significantly better against Pitt's run game, I'm not fully convinced that it's because of Virginia Tech getting better and not just Pitt having a poor game plan going into this one. This will be a really interesting thing to watch because Florida State really hasn't had much success running the ball early this season. This could be an opportunity for them to get things going on that side of the ball, or it could be an opportunity for Virginia Tech to show that the last game wasn't a fluke. To me, that's a little bit of the story of the game. If Virginia Tech can stop Florida State's run game, I think their offense might be able to hold onto the ball long enough to give them a chance in this game. However, both their successes in the run game on offense and defense right now are just one-game blips. I don't know if those are anomalies, but we'll get to see this Saturday against a top 5 team in the country. Thanks for watching. If you're a Virginia Tech fan, make sure to let me know how I did in the comments below. What did I miss about your team? If you're a Florida State fan, make sure to like and subscribe and head on over to Noles 247 where I'll be furthering the conversation. Thanks.